Yes, go for it, Rhonda, thank you.
Good afternoon, Board. So we're in for our quarterly real estate update, and we have a few topics to bring to your attention and review with you this afternoon. And I'm going to turn it over to Jill and Mike, who are our real estate brokers with Bishop Hill and Duncan. Thank you.
Morning, or good afternoon, thanks guys for taking the time. So we'll start with the dispositions. As you all know, Lakeview, the Ashton Woods contract was terminated. They did not get their approvals that they were seeking through the city. And so internally, we had a discussion. We still think there's demand for that type of development. The city did come back and indicate that versus the 194 townhomes that Ashton Woods had on their plan, the city would support something less dense based upon resident feedback, something closer to 120 units on the 25 acres, but in a single-family detached format versus a townhome attached format, which is fine if everyone's okay with that. Obviously, that affects value. We've lost 74 units of value times 25,000 or so, probably an effect of about $1.7 million reduction in value to the school board based on the city's decision. But again, there's demand. We can update materials. We are updating materials, ready to go back out to market. One thing we've discussed is, as part of that Ashton Woods deal, there was a lot of what we call gingerbread in the transaction, and so the city was getting additional buffers and retaining walls and public amenities with a lake and a boardwalk and barbecue and road improvements, more importantly. We have to figure out how that gets paid for now with that. Number one, the reduction in value on your side, but number two, the reduction in value to a new developer because they're only building 120 units. So that's just something that if you decide we're going down the road, we'll just have to deal with that when it comes.
Right. I also talked to a couple of commissioners too, once I saw it was denied, to kind of get a feel for what is it that they're looking for, what can they, sustain. Another thing that this board can possibly entertain, is maybe a mixed use, like split of it. Because I know we had the Boys and Girls Club. They're talking about that might get full where it's at now. And it's not really ideal with the amount of parking and everything else like that. And so maybe they can have like some kind of comprehensive services. So I don't know if that's something that we may be able to look at partnering with the city and sitting there and saying, okay, because I know the residents were against more houses. And that's where it came from. The city council just didn't vote against it. Some of the residents were really kind of fighting it, going to City Hall and pushing them. But if we can like move the Boys and Girls Club there, kind of have like a center, and that way the Boys and Girls Club has a school right there. Because right now, there's no school in direct proximity of where it's located now. So they literally have to get shuttled over there, or they have to walk across a couple of state streets to get there when, it's right next to it. So I think that's something that, if the city council and the residents are open to something like that and not building 10,000 new houses right around it, I think that's something that, again, I'm just one person, that's the rest of the board's kind of decision or kind of direction, but I think it'd be good to talk to the city and see, because instead of fighting with the city, kind of working with them, and that way we can still probably dispose of the other properties that we have. But I think that we do have, how many acres is this one?
25.
See, it's 25, and that's a lot. You could build a nice parking lot, a nice, park or something like that, kind of what they want to do, and that way the residents won't get mad, and we get a benefit too. So,
I just don't know what they'll pay.
Yeah, that's
I
really.
mean, our marching orders were to get as much money as we could from this excess land, so we're not against that. It's just, I don't know what those nonprofits can pay for land.
no, but you can partner with the city too. The city can acquire part of it as well,
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, we can try to sell it, but if the residents keep knocking it down,
Well, if they'll let us build 120 units, it's still marketable. And we've got to work on those things they wanted us to do. But as they've reduced the density, we, I think, have an argument about all those other improvements.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So, like, if that has to be on the table. That's an agreement we already have with them,
Yeah.
is that gingerbread stuff you have.
That was all part of the Ashton Woods agreement that was worked down.
So it's not
including-
necessarily going to happen with the next
We've
project.
set the we've set the expectation, right? And,
Right.
and they've set it in an open forum, so I think the next developer that comes to the table, that's going to come up, like, well, where's our boardwalk, and where's, you know what I mean? Not our fault, I mean,
Yeah.
the city reduced the density, there's.
But that is the conversation to have
Yeah.
if, you know, it is coming in at a lower price than.
But some of this was related to the school and queuing and stuff.
So one of the things that the city was requiring was the full extension of Robinson, and then it was gonna go down and intersect, and we were including 60 feet off of the backside of Lakeview, which was being bought for. So all of that comes back off the table, but in allowing for that expansion of Robinson, the city also wanted us to create a new parking, stacking, queuing venue for Lakeview. And that was all worked into this new deal, just a little more than $1 million the last time we priced it out. But if you start bringing the lot count down, you bring the value of the property down. So will you still have $1.2 million to put into a parking, stacking, queuing? And will the new plan allow for the widening of Robinson and the selling? So everything kind of comes back at ground zero. We've got to see what the new developers will come in with a plan of 120, along with all of the things that the city does want, like the community and the barbecue and the sit by the lake, and allow people not living into the community to come in and use it as if it is a centralized park, and hope the new residents are even going to be open to that. So all of that kind of goes back to ground zero, but there will be a significant value decrease due to the lot count decreasing.
What was the offer whenever, because since I wasn't here when all of that took
We were at
place.
4.55, something around there. We just got an offer in for 3, but I think there's a little more there.
And how much did we pay for it?
So that was part of the original purchase of the Lakeview site, so I would have to go back and look, because we bought the entire site for
And
like
just didn't
20,
use it all.
so
Yeah,
like
we didn't buy that
20-something years
separately.
ago, right.
It was
We've
part of the
actually
planning for
surveyed it
expansion.
out so that we had to get it dispositioned by the state, so we could actually sell it, so it's actually sitting on its own survey now.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, so we're not really losing a lot of money off of this. And for $3 million, we're building more houses against what the will of the people are. What can we really do with $3 million? It's not a whole lot. So looking at it for nonprofit use, to be able to do something for the city that they need, because they're running out of land, you know, and especially in the state streets. That's something that the board should consider. I mean, for us to sit there and build more houses, for $3 million, it's not going to help us do anything, really. $3 million sounds like a lot of money, but for what the district buys, it's not a whole lot.
So originally, when we came to the previous boards, and I think it's been almost 2 boards now, the intent of selling Pine Tree and Lakeview was to take that money and help it offset the purchase of the 2 transportation facilities. So just to know, that was the intent of originally selling the property. But I do hear
No, and I
what you're
agree.
saying,
And the things have
to look at
modified
other
their house, like,
options, right?
$3 million is a change order, is the difference for the cost, you know?
But we are still paying for 2 facilities.
No, and I agree.
That's
And the thing is,
definitely happening.
you can still sell it, though, is what I'm trying to say. And we're not gonna give it away for free. You know, I'm just saying that if the city wants to work with us and we can do something that the residents want and provide a service to the city and partner with them, that's a whole different ball of wax than putting 120 new houses that we still have to account for. More traffic, more whatever, as opposed to providing services the community may want.
Just curious to know, besides the private conversation that you had with whomever, has there been a public conversation about using this property for a different use other than?
When the park conversation came up at the city meetings, they do talk about, in their long-term plan, their parks have been accounted for, and they do not have money in the budget to put out for a park.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we can't get to the table and talk to them, and it's a budget cycle year, and maybe they reprioritize, but during the meetings we were at, it was made clear that they do not have money in the budget for the parks.
But you bring up a great question, though, Chairwoman. Is the fact is, do we have a public input and see what the public wants? I don't think they've ever had a meeting where it's say, hey, here's a property that the school district owns. What would you like to see done with it? You know, whether or not the budget exists or not,
Yeah.
just having a public input session, getting their feedback, and what does the community want?
I understand, but that isn't really up to us. that would really be up to that municipality to decide if they want to do that.
No, it's up to us.
No,
We
it's
own the
up to
land.
us.
We own the land. It's
Yeah,
our land.
It's our land. I mean, that's exactly up to us.
So are we developers though? Are we gonna
No,
develop?
we're not. That's why
So
we shouldn't
then-
be, it was a mistake to sell the land to begin with for something that we already knew that the community was against. So when we sold this, when we went into this plan, we already knew that there was a ton of resistance to the land being sold for this purpose. Then what happens? A super development-friendly city council couldn't even pass it on their own to give permitting for what they had planned to do with it. So what it did was we wasted a bunch of time. This land is not going to get worth any less. It's going to only increase in value. There's no reason to sell it now. There's no reason to ignore the will of the community of St. Cloud. Why would we not just hold on to this land? We can find a use for it. I think that would be a far smarter thing to do, is to bring in the community and find out. We're not developers, but we are developers if we just sell the land for the development, and it would be our responsibility. We're not losing any money on the land. We already paid for this land. We already built a school there.
I'm
It's
just
there's not a lot of wisdom.
assuming that we decide to, let's go down this road. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I don't know what I'm thinking, so let's do this mental exercise. We decide, yeah, let's Osceola County School District hold a public forum in St. Cloud to figure out what they want to do, and they are all, let's have a park. So who's going to build the park? Are we going to do it?
No, you
Are
begin.
we going to build the park?
No, you begin
get
to have, you
stakeholders.
begin to have that conversation.
Right, but we need the stakeholders on the table first. We can't say, the community wants a park, here's the land we have, cool. And so now the community expects someone to do it, so we've opened the door that we can't cash that check.
I think that you
I think
have that
I think
reversed.
you're jumping too far ahead, though. I mean, I respect your decision.
I feel like that's, I mean, if we're gonna start having that conversation, we
Right.
need to jump to the end in mind, right?
No, correct. No, I understand. But the thing is, if the citizens come, right, and you have an open forum, you invite the city council to be there as well. And you let them hear what their own citizens say, you know, and then you have that conversation. Okay, if they want a park, okay, then you have that second conversation. You say, okay, city, do you want to try to develop a park? Yeah or nay? Do we need a park? I mean, you can have a passive park. There's different types of parks. I mean, it's green land. All you can do is put a couple, swing sets on there or something like that, and it's a park. You know, that's a very minimal
I think
investment.
I agree with your concern with our entire community. I think it's important to do what they want, but I also think that that conversation needs to happen with the stakeholders before we open that door.
I mean,
we are
the
not
number one
that-
stakeholders are the
Well, that's the
citizens.
point. Well, that's
But
the
we are
point.
not St. Cloud. We
Yeah.
are the school district
No,
of
we're the
Osceola.
county. The city is within the county in our jurisdiction.
I think,
Can I ask one more question in regards to this property? If we were to hold on to it, since that was just something Mr. Arguello said, what happens with the queuing issue we have at Neptune then? Or I mean at Lakeview,
So,
sorry.
We are on the record with the city of St. Cloud that without the sale of the property, we do not have the funding in our budget to address. Plus, to make that whole thing work, we have to have the widening of Robinson, and a lot of that was being put in by the developer. So our cost would extensively go up to now do what was gonna work as an entire package versus us. We can't do a Neptune there where we can just go in and kind of revamp. We needed the widening and the shifting, and so for now, they're under advisement. It's a moot point because it can't be done without.
Because that is
A
one
whole
thing I know I
package.
have heard from residents in that area is the concern with the fact that that wasn't going to take place now. You
The
know, there
walking
are
school
people who
is
live around there
the
that
walking school.
are,
But if you
getting
put
a
it to
little
them, they're not going to
frustrated.
want to take that poison pill. If you were just to do a popular vote on the issue, they're not going to want to say, you know what, we want the stacking, so we're willing to build 120 more units here.
I'm just
Right?
saying, how do
So-
we deal with that issue? Because that is an issue that we have in that area still, if we're going to hold this land and not, or we just ignore that that issue is there at this point.
So it is a walking community, other than for Turtle Creek. It is the only community bussed in. So we're just facing that fact that walking communities are really turning into driving communities. So when it was built, it was intended to be a walking community, and the only thing that changed is we took Turtle Creek years ago out of Narcoossee Elementary and we put it over. So it's just that natural desire that parents are now driving. So it's kind of a parent-driven that has created that need. They don't have a lot of incoming choice, so we know it's not driven by that. So, but right now, Dave, knowing the site, there's not a lot of options without the widening of Robinson to readdress that parking stack and
Right, a part of the
queuing.
planning in this original plan, for the developer to walk away, was to give them 20 feet along Robinson so that they can add the sidewalks and widen the street, and then we would pick it up more to the back of the property and have the stacking on site. Technically, if we can do the parking stacking project, but if that deal does work out and Robinson gets widened, then majority of our improvements would get torn up. So it's planning for long run how to do that properly would be important. It can be done.
I
We probably
think
just
that
need to leave it at
there's too many questions. We don't have a direction of what the stakeholders want. And we've already spent a lot of staff time, money, resources on this first project. And I think before we spend any more resources moving forward, we know what the stakeholders want. 'Cause we'll just be back here again and again and again. And the best use is to get that input. So that's, I think your time is valuable, your time, to do these projects, but we need to get to one where we can come to agreement. So I'm hopeful that the city will work together with us so that we can figure out what this is gonna be.
So direction is to reach out to the city to create a community, to see what they're willing to do, and then if they are interested in investing in the partner as a stakeholder, then move forward to a citizen input. Is that the direction we're receiving?
Yeah, it's kind of like how they did with the lakefront. They had a meeting and invited the public to go in there and say, hey, give us your opinions and things.
I think, yes, thank you for that example. When you say stakeholders, do you mean the city?
All of that, everyone together, because if we're pushing forward with stacking or whatever they may have in mind, oh, we have somebody that's approached the city that wants to do some business here, and we're not on the same page. And so just having that open communication dialogue, I think something was amiss here, but that before we spend any more resources with our staff time and things, I think it's important that we get input and talk to each other.
Are you suggesting like a meeting with the city and the school board, or are you just specifically asking them, what do you want to do, or what you're willing to pay for as well? Like, what's their budget like? And then based on that, move forward?
And you talked to the city before, I don't know if with the county, you may talk with city manager or whoever that might be to do, if you've had a chance to talk with Veronica at the city about this project in particular, Dr. Shanoff?
Not yet.
I think it's possible to have a joint meeting because they're, unlike the county, the city is
Maybe joint.
more amicable. I never had any issues with the mayor or anybody else, wanting to sit down there and have the conversation. So, I mean, whether or not we can come to an agreement is a whole different story.
Yeah, can't we just arrange like a town hall type of meeting, like this property, take advisement, have someone from the city there, I mean, that would make sense because it's the number, that's where the buy-in comes in. If they got like 50 sponsors to do our superintendent's going away party, I'm sure that they can get partners in here that want to develop a project that the community is all behind. I mean, that's
I respectfully disagree with that because I'm not sure if I'm making my point correctly when I say that we cannot go to the community and ask them for an input when we don't know what the city has to offer.
No, but they're
They
part
may
of
have
it,
nothing
but
to
they're part of
offer,
that town hall though
but
too, though.
yeah.
They're gonna be
What-
part of it and they're
what-
gonna hear that.
I
and
understand,
so-
but what does it matter if stakeholders in the community are like, let's build a park. Now we've set an expectation that we're gonna
Well,
build a
that's
park and we
democracy,
don't.
though, Madam
No, it
Chair.
isn't. We're
That's-
setting up an
So
expectation
you're
to
telling me that
fail.
the people can't have an input on their own land?
They
Why would
can,
we
once we
fail?
understand what we're working with.
Correct.
If
But
we
that's-
don't know what we're working with, we're gonna set an expectation that we may not be able to fulfill.
I think that you're coming to a conclusion that may or may not exist. I like the idea that the vice chairwoman said, you just have a town hall to gather input.
I
You
mean,
don't have
if
to-
this is the will of the board as a collective, I'm okay with it, but I do want to express serious concerns with going to a community and saying, we love to hear what you have to say. And then
Why would
they
that be a
say,
concern?
may I finish
That's
my
exactly
point?
what you would
you
want.
mind letting me finish my point?
Take it easy. Take it easy. It's a conversation.
Let me
Sorry,
tell you
also
something.
interrupted me earlier.
Do not tell me to take it easy.
Okay,
That
well,
would be
then
the
calm
last
down.
time you say that to me.
Okay, calm
Thank you.
down. This is a board, it's a meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And I
so
can
you're not a
speak.
dictator,
I
okay.
can speak the way I
Calm
want
down.
to. You had your point. The last time you say calm down to me will be today. Do you
Calm
understand
down.
that?
Calm down.
I don't know
I
who
am
you
not
think
your
you're
friend.
talking
Guys, come on,
to.
don't
Calm
waste
down.
time.
I don't know who you think you're talking to, But if I give you respect, you reciprocate. Do you understand that?
I
Thank
don't know
you.
what that means, but calm down, regardless, okay?
Okay.
Because I'm not your employee, this is a professional setting, so
Telling
watch
a
your
woman
tone.
to calm down is the most unprofessional thing I've ever heard in my
If you were a man, I'd be
life.
telling you the same thing.
I've
Guys,
never
okay,
heard you say
guys,
that to a
Just
man.
wasted 2 minutes, please. Just make your point, Madam Chair, please.
Okay. I'm going to ask the entire board once again. We can all have a discussion and be lively, and we do not have to tell each other to calm down, okay? And I
Well,
will
I'm
also
I'm
not be
here to
interrupted.
be verbally abused by your
No one's
absolute
verbally
emotional
abusing you.
outbursts. so
Nobody is verbally abusing you. You will not tell me to calm down.
Your tone is disrespectful.
It is not
But
disrespectful.
anyways, get on with your point.
When I am done and I will move on, I want to make sure that you understand. You will not tell me or any other woman on this board to calm down ever again.
Calm down.
Okay, we're gonna take a recess. We're gonna take a recess. If the board, majority of the board wants to have a town hall or whatever, I'm fine, obviously I'm fine with that. There's nothing I can do about it. But I do want to make a point that we are, in my opinion, opening up a door to have a conversation that we're not ready to have. I think that we should talk to the city and see what they're actually working with. And then if there is a decision made to go to the public and ask for their input, then that's fine. But to do it the other way, me personally, I'm not for that. I think it's a bad idea. But whatever the will of the board is.
I'm in agreement with Terry on this one. I think having that conversation, I like the idea of the Boys and Girls Club, but I don't think we can say, ooh, this property is prime for that. Are they ready for that transition at this point? That's only been open a year now. Is that something that's feasible? So I think finding out from the city exactly what they're willing to do with that land in greenlighting something is important.
I think that the reason that it failed to begin with was because we didn't seek the community's input at that point. You know, at no point
And I think we know that now, that obviously they don't want this kind of development there. So we know that. So what is the city willing to do in a green lighted fashion with
But the
this
city
property?
also works for the citizens, right? Every one of these government organizations works for the citizens. We serve the citizens. And so to bring in the community last is very small-minded, when we should be seeking their advice and saying, hey, we have a piece of land, right? This didn't go through. You did not want this. What do you guys see for the future of this land? The citizens will be here after all of us are gone.
I hear you
So-
on that, but with the meetings that they've had and what they've been listening to their constituents on in that small community of St. Cloud, maybe they do have a better understanding of what they're willing to greenlight there. So I think having that conversation first is key. And then, yes, of course, let's involve the community after that. But I do think we need to know
I
what
don't think it's mutually
what
exclusive,
they're willing to
right?
do.
Like, there's no reason that Rhonda can't go meet with the city tomorrow. And we have a town hall planned for this date where they choose to come or not come. But the city is also not in control of our land. The city is not, they're not the stakeholders that we need permission from, right? We only need permits from the city if we do anything, right? Otherwise, what we do need is our citizens to buy in that this is a good use of their land, which they own. If we go to the city first, the city doesn't own this land, the school board does, right? The school board made a bad decision in advising our team to go and sell this land for a project that we already knew the community did not want. Now, when you make that kind of mistake, it's your job to go fix your mistake, find out what the community does want, so that whatever we go forward with, we know that the city's going to have to agree that the citizens want this. And if they say no, that's the city's problem. But we did what we were supposed to do as elected officials and serve people. I know that's not custom here in Osceola County, but that's certainly what we should do. And that makes most sense.
And that's an excellent point, because it's a non-binding community meeting. You know, the city, we can sunshine it, announce it. The city and the school board can even have a joint town hall where we have the discussion and allow public comment. And that's, to me, there's nothing wrong with having people have their input. I mean, that's engagement, that's community engagement. Now, if what they want, they may want a Taj Mahal to get built, then we tell them at the time, as a joint meeting, we can't build a Taj Mahal. We don't have $1 gazillion to build one. But to not include them at the very beginning, John articulated it very well. You know, that was the reason why it failed in the beginning. So we're going to make the same mistake again? We already made the mistake once. Let's learn from that. Use it as a teachable moment and say, okay, the citizens have to be a component on what they want with the land. Because at the end of the day, they're the taxpayers too. They own that land. The school district doesn't own it. We're just the board members that are, you know, managing the fiduciary responsibility of the citizens. So to include them at the very end, it's almost like a very top-down approach, like their opinion doesn't matter. And they already got disrespected once, and they already rejected it once. They went to the city hall, and they said that they didn't want it, and that way the city voted against it. So I just think that it doesn't hurt. Now, you're right. The Madam Chair does have a point that, you know, there may be some financial repercussions to that. But you don't be afraid to have a difficult conversation. And to me, that's democracy in action. People get involved, the city and the school board can all work together and just say, hey, let's just have a joint meeting. This is the land. I can imagine it as like a regular town hall. They have the picture of the land. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. People can go in there. They can ask for whatever they want. But we don't have to deliver it. If we don't have the money to do it, then we tell them, no, we can't do it because there's no money. You know what I mean? But to not have their opinion involved in the beginning and figure out, okay, how do we do it the right way and be transparent throughout the entire process. You can't lose by being too transparent. There is no consequence. The only consequence is that somebody has to tell them that we can't afford to do what they want. And if they do want it bad enough, they can say, okay, well, it depends what they want. Again, that's why I just jump into conclusions. The point is, you're just doing a fact-finding mission to find out what people want. All stakeholders. Stakeholders can include the city because, you know, it is in their city boundaries. It's us because we own the land, and it's the community. And I think we're overcomplicating this way too much.
Vice Chair, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think for City of Kissimmee, and different, Brad, you've been in this firm for a very long time. When there's land that we've sold previously in City of Kissimmee, how did this go about when we do, and properties would be sold within the city limits, whether it's Kissimmee, St. Cloud? We only have the two municipalities.
So City of Kissimmee, the last time we sold to them was the Beaumont property. So that was pre-me, and that was so they could expand their own facilities. So that was an ancillary purchase. We hadn't, the two properties we've been trying to sell since I've been overseeing real estate has been the Lakeview and the Pine Tree properties, and neither has sold to date. Either through a change of direction by the board to go from residential to commercial back to residential, or the city and the counties have both approached us on parks before and then withdrew their offers of parks, and then we've put the property back out. So we really haven't had a clear direction like to try to go in and create a town hall environment, because these are the only two properties that we've had up since I've been overseeing real estate.
I think there needs to be some communication or shift. We got the mark wrong on this property, I think, and I just feel like with the first sell of what, that's not what the city wants, and I know that they were going through that process as well over time. But I think that we need to come back, as there's been new board members on board with the city, to see what's their direction. Also, what has the input been from the city council meetings that I'm not even aware of? And so I know that they have had a lot of input. To start there, then have the town hall or have some type of community input to go to the next step, so that we can not skip over the process too. But I want it all to be together. But I think having that initial conversation with the leaders in the city, and then seeing what that input has looked like over time, and then including the residents as well, because they have been a part of that process to make that decision and shown up to the meetings and given time at the council meetings as well. So that's wordy, but that's where I'm at.
Okay, so it sounds like you'd like to have a conversation amongst us and St. Cloud first before a town hall?
Yes, I think.
I can agree, I can
I
agree to
think-
that, to kind of finish this. So that way, we don't beat this to
What I was
death.
saying, but okay. Great, at least 4 people are in agreement, so I think we can move forward. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Pine Tree.
So in other words, don't accept any offers at this moment.
We are not
Because
marketing
If you
at all.
accept an offer, you take away our ability to negotiate something with the city.
We are not
I won't
marketing at
accept
this.
anything.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's clear for the
Yeah.
record.
Okay, Covington property, Pine Tree, so same thing. We've got 3 offers on the table. Valencia came to the table, said they had initial interest. They've since come back and educated on the process of how long it would take them to go through this process and decide if this worked for them, which was concerning for them that the district would end up losing one of the potential buyers. So, and to just be transparent, we'd have to go back out to these 3 buyers, because some of these offers are older. The market has eroded since these offers have been made, except for the 3.6 offer that did just come in. So I'd like to go back to these people specifically to see their interest level and at what value, if you decided you wanted to do that with this property.
Can you talk a little bit more about the Valencia College? So you're saying that they feel their timeline is too long at this point?
Yes, so I received a phone call yesterday evening when they had seen the presentation posted to the public. They didn't know we had these types of offers available to us. So while they're not afraid of the price tag, what they're concerned is their process to get through their board and to get their backers and to do everything that they need to do before they could go into an agreement with us, is we could lose one of these offers. The market could change, price of property could either go down, go up, but we don't know which way it'll go. But they don't want to see us lose an offer that's readily available, waiting for all of them to get all of their order.
Each
in
of
place.
these peak mode, home dynamics, and solar are all home
Residential.
builders, residential builders.
And I'm going to make the same argument over again. I don't want to see a gazillion houses. I'm willing to wait. If Valencia wants to express interest in an educational institution and they offer value, the mayor is already on record, I'm willing to do that. Now, I'm not here to be, kind of what the chairwoman said, to be a developer and allow, more and more houses to get up there. I wanted to see some other use of this facility. And if Valencia has a process, of course they have a process. I'm willing to take that chance because there's always going to be somebody wanting to buy. Now, we may lose the price that you collect for it, but again,
Do we know if Valencia is pursuing other areas in?
They have looked at other areas. We talked about this area. They like its location to the turnpike because you can, especially once it realigns with Nolte, straight down Nolte, straight down Canoe Creek. And then we are there on the left. But, they do have to do their due diligence. They have to get all of their backing. They didn't give me a time frame of 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. They just, when they saw the agenda and that these offers could be available, they reached out last night and made the call that if we moved past them, they would not be offended if we waited for them, but they don't want to be the reason we might lose this deal by working with them through time.
We asked Valencia how long that timeline normally takes, because we know it's a process to get it counted on their agenda, get the board things, but what timeframe are they looking at to get it?
I can go back and ask, but as of last night, they weren't committing a timetable to me, just years. So I don't know if they meant 2, 4, 6. It was a very open conversation that came up about a week and a half ago, and we wanted to at least get it on the agenda to get feedback from the board. It's a different kind of traffic. It's a different kind of constant in and out versus a residential traffic. So it'll also probably get certain feedback from others. I thought that we might like it because it's one educational facility to another educational facility. They have said they would not offer programs that we're currently offering at OTEC. They're looking more for your warehouse, your Amazon, your forklift. They're looking at moving the CDL class from Valencia at Denjon to a better location. So they're looking more, they would not compete with us on the classes that we're currently offered. They did make that clear. So I think they're in the very early stages. They've been out just trying to see what sites are available, to see what's on the table, and then they're ready to roll up their sleeves and start making the necessary moves.
And at this point too, sorry,
Okay.
the original intent of prior boards of the whole going towards the 2 transportation, we're building those no matter what. And we're trying to find the funds for those no matter what. And these are gonna be a drop in the bucket if and when we sell these properties. So if we were to hold on to this for them, it's not like it's affecting what we're doing at Transportation East or West.
Well, East is under contract, so Sarah's saying yes as far as West.
That's
Yes.
correct. We will be budgeting for those 2 facilities.
No matter
And
what,
there's
regardless.
there's nothing in the budget currently with any kind of revenue assumption based on these sales.
Yes.
I think that that makes sense. Then we are adding to the development of the county in a far more beneficial way to the community than just building residential that doesn't have any services or ways to generate revenue. So I think that's a great idea. Number one, we should find out, they may not commit to a specific timeline, but they may give us an idea. This is a 5-year period, then at least that gives us some kind of notice. And we need to get affirmation of these offers anyways from these other people, right? Because they may not even be on the table anymore. So we need affirmation for these 2. And then, talk to Valencia and see where they're at.
So don't mark it, confirm these 3, and then try to get a timetable from Valencia.
That's just my opinion.
Is-
Yeah, because Valencia may consider their calculus that the mayor has already said that they're going to kind of support that idea. So we
He
talk about
support that to his
yeah, so you
council,
talk
yes.
about the permitting process has to go through them. We own the land, so we're kind of creating, kind of like building that interest, that mutual interest. Kind of like a letter of intent. One person builds it. So if everybody's on board with it, then that may consider Valencia to go, wait a second, because I may have an alternative site. But what if the city doesn't want me to build? You know what I mean? Or what if the seller doesn't want to sell at the right price? I think that with Valencia getting the nod from both the city and the school district, that we're both interested, not committing to it, but just interested, that they're going to be more willing to do legwork because they're not wasting their time. Kind of like how the vice chair said earlier, staff doesn't like to waste time. But if everybody's initially saying, I think you got the go-ahead, I think Valencia's going to be more willing to move forward and spend some time to say this is serious.
So that, okay.
Great. We'll roll through the rest of these really quickly. We've got a couple of acquisition searches that we're doing. The market, although not as hot as it was, home builders are still active. It's still a tough market to find large pieces of land for affordable prices. So, and then layer on all the other requirements that we have in terms of signalization and multiple road frontages and all those different things. It just makes it really hard to find land. So So we will continue to do that. We've looked at a few things, we've turned down a few things. We did get a call from a broker friend, colleague of ours that works with UCP. They actually called, they didn't call about our school board land, but they just called in general and said, I know y'all work in Osceola County a lot. Do you have 4 to 6 acres that you could sell us? And I said, well, wait a second. Maybe there's an opportunity for you guys to partner with the school district. Maybe they can fit you on a campus. Maybe there's something we can figure out. So we've been going down that road and we're researching it.
Maybe part of that Lakeview.
Can you expand on UCP, like what's their angle, like what kind of programs they have?
Yeah, absolutely. If you, yeah, no, go for it. Okay.
We did
Yeah.
get with them, and they kind of gave us their mission statement and their history and the population. I can tell you, based on the current build-out that they have a waiting list to double their current needs. So they are looking close to 60,000 something square feet. They're looking for about 8 acres, and they have a waiting list that would allow them, if they could open tomorrow, to double what they're currently servicing at this time.
And they would purchase. They're not looking for a donation of land.
On the last one, I don't know if you hit that yet with Johnson University.
So just real quick, so just for UCP, I'm looking for, consensus to take a look at any inventory that, land inventory that we have to see if the land we would have available, that maybe we could slice off 8 acres if it's possible, then even see if it meets the need, because they have a certain area they're looking for, and I don't have that data yet, so just, are you good with me continuing discussions with them? We could bring you back maybe more information at September when Dave comes up and just give you a quick update to see where we're really at with them. Okay. No. I cut you off, sorry.
No, thanks. No, I didn't know, I thought we skipped over, 'cause I was gonna say, if it was part of the presentation or not. But Johnson University, that's the one that's right next to us right here. And I'm definitely interested. Again, I'm only one board member. This is definitely a majority board. Because one issue that I have is the fact that our administration offices are all over the place. Like if I have to go to HR, I have to drive over here. If I have to go to the health center, I have to go over there. I have to oh my Lord, we're all over the place. I dreamed one day of just building the dang tower. I mean, it's not exactly perfect because taxpayers what are you doing? You know what I mean? But consolidating them. You know what I'm saying? Selling off some assets to actually put it all under one umbrella. And Johnson University looks like a possibility that it's already next to us, that if we ever were to do anything, I can see Ross Jeffries moving there and selling Ross. I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to, but I mean, the point is that we can sell Ross Jeffries, sell other things, then consolidate and have a big campus where everybody's under one umbrella and not having to drive and get in the car to talk to HR, to see your healthcare provider. And I like that concept, but I'm only one board member. But I just
Can you
wanted
tell us
to
a
accept
little bit
something.
more about that? Is it the university is leaving, or is it a
They're
portion of
closing.
their property? Okay.
They've officially announced to the public, this coming year will be their last year, and they're ready to sell.
24, yeah. It's not on the market. They are going to sell.
Yep.
And we're in communication with their attorney out of Chicago, and very beginning stages of, we're waiting on an appraisal and documents from them. This is literally a week old, so just very new.
Another one, if you're good with this to continue conversations, we will, and hopefully bring you back an update in September to see if we want to continue moving forward, or at that point, we know we can't stay in the game depending on what their plans are.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. That was everything.
Thank you all.
Question?
Thank
No?
you.
We're all good? Okay.
Thank you.
The tough